wanna start my day with love. That's what I get more of, is love. I start my day with love. Wanna start my day with love. That's what I get more of, is love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. I start my day with love. Wanna start my day with love. That's what I get more of, is love. I start my day with love. Wanna start my day with love. That's what I get more of, is love. I choose love, love, love. Love, love, love. I choose it, love, love, love. Love, love, love. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel that sweet release of peace. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel that sweet release of peace. I choose peace, 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 peace. Peace, peace, peace. I feel it, peace, 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 peace. I choose peace, peace, peace. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. I choose joy, joy, joy. I feel it, joy, joy, joy. Every day it's joy, joy, joy. I'm choosing joy, joy, joy. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel that sweet.
So let's say our mission statement, and then we've got just a few announcements to make. To awaken, acknowledge, and nurture the divine in everyone. Okay, let's get started with our thoughts or prayers.
thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, the tools that we create with. Our thoughts are prayers that spirit resonates with. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of mindfulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Let's just move right into prayer, knowing that we are the presence. The presence is in us and through us and all around us. And we live, move, and have our being as we recognize ourselves as that presence. And so knowing this divine being, divine mind that is directing our thoughts, we allow divine mind to connect with us at the heart level. And we pray that all of our brothers and sisters, and even those weighing heavy in our minds and in our hearts, are well, are at ease. In loving kindness, we see the highest truth. And so I invite you now to use your power of the word, a vibration of the word, to speak the names of your loved ones, your friends, your family, your community members, your world leaders out loud, so that we may recognize them as part of this sacred circle.
Lauren, Jim, and his wife.
Denise, Philip,
Yes. Breathing in and breathing out, love towards the images in our mind's eye of all of these names. We see them at peace. We see them at one. We know that they are well, and everything is exactly as it should be, in divine order. And it is good. And so it is. And so let's follow this right with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. right, if you would like to grab your lyric sheet for I Am Light, we're going to sing that before we go right into meditation.
Things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. Oh, light. Yeah. Oh, light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. Yeah. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
And so as we take in this knowing that we are light, again, that light is all around us as it emanates from each of us. We know ourselves to be the expression of the one true source. So we focus in on our breath, and we focus on the release of that breath. As we breathe in the light from one another, and we exhale, we let go, knowing that we too already are the light. Breathing in and letting go, knowing truly that we are safe. We are exactly where we are meant to be, and all is well. knowing that I am safe. If you'll allow my words to be your words, I watch my thoughts parade before me in my mind's eye. Each thought is a character in this parade. There's the drum majorette twirling her baton with fast thinking. There's the choreography of the marching band. There's the tuba player playing those low notes. There are the highs, there are the lows, and everything in between is playing out before me in my mind's eye as I watch the parade go by. As a spectator, I know that I am not my thoughts. My thoughts do not have dominion over me. Any more than I am the source of these thoughts. My life experiences, my beliefs, my implicit biases tap into race consciousness, and these thoughts are formed. They are not the truth of my highest self. And so as I watch this parade, I notice that the spacing between the rows in the marching band is widening. There is space there, emptiness. A place where I can see breath, where I can see wholeness. In this wholeness, I experience myself as whole, as complete, as the breath of life. And in this place, in this safety of breath, I go deeper, focusing on the light in my in-breath and the letting go on the out-breath. I continually move deeper and deeper into the space, into that space between. I allow whatever is to be to be. Breathing in, breathing out, and falling down into the arms of the divine. I allow my heart to carry me, to enfold me as that Christ consciousness is swirling around me, in me, through me. I am completely relaxed, turning myself over to the will of the divine. And so I continue to let go. And as I do so, I become continually aware, more and more aware of what is happening inside my body. Am I relaxed completely? Is there tension somewhere? Is there a build-up of energy? Find that place. I focus my attention there now. And as it dissipates, it may turn up elsewhere in my body. Placing attention there, I honor and love and shed light on this place of dis-ease, allowing my body to heal. Always returning to the heart that really is the heart of every matter. I recognize that this is my higher intelligence. Again, returning the focus to the breath. Allowing whatever is to be, to be. Knowing that all good is with God. That there is only one power, one presence in this universe. And it is right here, right now, as God, the good, omnipotent. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen. So as we return our focus to the room, we might take a larger breath to feel more present in our bodies. We might want to stretch out our legs to feel the blood pulsing through our third dimensional being. Taking that big breath and allowing on the exhale to let it rest in a smile, as your face can only reflect the joy that we already are. We see that light of God in one another. We know that it is good, that we have all answered the call. We have all answered the call to be in this circle, to recognize our purpose, our very important purpose as part of Unity of the Sierra.
No, I was lifted and put here.
Well, you were lifted and put here by divine appointment.
Yes.
And I appreciate everything that you all go through just to be here. We are continuing our, I'm saying be here now because I've also been reading Ram Dass. But the power of now, the being present to the now, which is our theme this month, has taken us on this trip of paying attention to our thoughts. And how has that been going for you? Good. I mean, it's work. It is, I mean, we're sitting in the circle, so we're all teachers, right? This isn't about me telling you how to live your life. This is about the experience of your life, of each of our lives. And when we pay attention to our thoughts, because we can see them out here, we have created some separation between us and our thoughts. Then we can recognize that that is not the highest truth of what we are, right? And so we become ever more aware. That's okay. Go ahead, love. You're good.
Oh.
Thank you for being here when you could.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Good.
It was different for a change.
Not the same old, same old.
It was fun. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Thank you, honey.
Well, we have cookies. That's very important. Yeah.
My fire's gone. Okay.
All right. Thank you. So our thoughts, if you've noticed when you're trying to focus on the here and now, that it's not the easiest thing to do, right? Because we don't practice that all the time. And so we depend on those thoughts of the past to inform how we're going to react in the future. We're already planning our reaction to the future events. I know I've done that, right? I base history, I use that history because I have to think about the past in order to think, well, how am I going to react when so-and-so does this and so, like I'm role-playing things I don't need to role-play. Because if we all just show up exactly centered as we already are, then what happens in that present moment can be so beautiful. Because we've let go. Our theme for the remainder of the year is letting go. We've let go of those expectations. We've let go of the judgments. It's really about judgments. How we judge ourselves informs how we judge one another. So there's a good measuring tool for us, right? When we find ourselves in judgment, when we're not right in this now moment, we're either judging the past or the future, and there's usually people, characters involved in that. And so how we're judging these characters of our life play is a direct reflection of how we judge ourselves. And that is not conducive to happiness, right? We don't find love and peace and joy. We can't start our day with love and peace and joy if when we wake up in the morning, we're already on that hamster wheel that our mind has been trained to be on. I try to keep my mornings as quiet as possible. So I have that lingering awareness of sleep, of quiet. Sometimes when I am sleeping lightly, have you done this? When you're sleeping lightly and you wake up just enough to roll over, what are you sensing is going on in your mind? Are you in the middle of a blissful dream? Or is that tape still running? I don't know if it's because I am making an effort to be more aware of that tape, that subconscious tape that is always going, that when I'm even in my half sleep, waking up to turn over or going in between sleep cycles, that I'm hearing that tape now. And I'm not hearing it as it's right here in my face and it's not that high action, but it's a movement of mind that is always going. Even when we are asleep, our mind is going. And oftentimes that manifests as dreams. But not always. Even if we're not dreaming, that mind is going. And so when we become more and more aware of it, we get a sense of how that feels. How does that feel? Does it feel like a peaceful tape running? Is it all peace, love, and joy? Or is there some anxiety there? And if there's some anxiety there, where does that anxiety come from? I believe it comes from that relationship that we have with our mind. Because we're so stuck in our mind, we don't always remember to drop down to our hearts. And so the next step would be creating that practice of continually checking in with our hearts. And when I say checking in, I mean bringing the craziness, the thoughts, whether they're here or whether they're out here, bringing them to center, looking for that space in between, and taking a breath in that heart center, feeling that breath in our heart center. Allowing those thoughts to just go. And when we think about the past or the present, which is going to happen, and you recognize it, just do one of those, right? And then it comes, right? It's just nope, and we're here. And we're back. It's a little game you can play.
The game is don't go there.
Don't go there, right? Don't go there. But then don't think about why you don't want to go there, because then that's thinking about the past to inform your future. You don't want to think about why you don't want to go there. It's not right and perfect. It isn't the present moment. So if we spend all this time in the present moment, do our bills get paid? Are we still chopping the wood and carrying the water? Things still happen. We become more clear and present for paying the bills, for chopping the wood and carrying the water. We become more present for those things because we have practiced being present when we're not doing those things. And so now that becomes what is normal. And the emotions that can be so volatile sometimes when we're not paying attention to our thoughts. They become volatile because we're not paying attention to our feelings. We're not paying attention to our bodies. We're not paying attention to how our emotions are resonating within us. Our bodies are communication devices from our higher self to our third dimensional being self. Always referring back to that connection of the divine. So we get to be in relationship with the divine every single time when we are paying attention. And it's just a matter of, just keeping it here. As soon as you're like, and it's just, that's the visual I have. So, we have all had that experience of knowing ourselves in a relationship with the divine, right? We have talked about how positive aspects of prayer can really center us, how meditating can still us. I would just ask that you remember that the stillness is always there. It is from that stillness that we have been created, and it is from that stillness that we create. So whenever we do anything intentionally, we are doing it from a place of knowing the stillness. We're not always labeling it as that. But when something truly comes into focus for you, when something is revealed to you, it is because you have connected with that divine within. It is because you have done that work of just sitting and being and allowing. And we've all done that. I know we have. We're Unity Truth students. We read all the right books. We do some of the exercises we're told to do, right? And we participate as our comfort level allows. And as we breathe into it and lean into it, we become more comfortable with whatever is, and we don't have to judge the outside as much, right? Is this the kind of the process I've noticed in my life, is when I let something go, like I just let go of the grasp of it and breathe. that automatically takes me back to the center where I remember who and what I am. And then watch and see what happens. This is how we get in the flow. This is how we experience prosperity. We had a great board retreat yesterday where we got to talk about all this stuff then as well, right? And how we do this work on a personal level. But then that informs how we get to lead this church. It's from that place, the work that we do, that informs everything in our lives, especially our relationships. And so, are your relationships what you would like them to be? Where are you noticing some friction? Boy, if you want to grow fast, get into a relationship, right? And some of us have equally wisely chosen not to be in a relationship, but you're just on hiatus if you're not in a very close one-on-one personal relationship, whatever that relationship is. We go on hiatus sometimes. We need a break, right? But then there's always more work to do, and so we find ourselves in relationships again. And we say, okay, this time it's going to look this way. And what did I do? I just used my past to inform my future. That ego is so...
It has to be a new relationship.
Right. Oh, thank you. That's perfect. That's perfect. It does not have to be a new relationship. And I was just referring to people that have chosen not to be in close one-on-one relationships. But when we are in those intimate relationships, yes, every day they can be born anew, just like every day we can be born anew.
Every minute.
Every minute. Every minute. Yes.
It's a new beginning.
That's right.
We choose.
Yes. I'm sorry I don't have you all on speaker for John, but every day we can choose is what, every moment, every minute we can choose is what Daryl is saying. Every minute can be new. And it's just about remembering and getting in the habit. That remembering thing, that sounds like it's effort. It doesn't have to be when we develop that habit. So go ahead. We should have, you know what? Can we grab a microphone for you? Is that okay? All right, hold that thought.
Relationships. That's where we will grow. We don't grow in a vacuum.
We do not
The
grow in a
basis of
vacuum.
Relationships.
Could you give that to Rick, please? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Darryl.
Please take that. The basis of emotion.
Gotta hold it closer to your mouth.
Yeah. The basis of relationship is emotion. Until we face our emotions and see who we are, where we are, we have to face ourselves. We cannot run away. There is where the work is.
Yeah.
And to be honest with ourselves. And if we find we're repeating relationships, it means we missed the boat on figuring out erroneous thinking.
Yeah.
And we have to go back. And many of the patterns that we have in adult relationships are a direct corresponding experience that we have had as a child with our own parents and their dysfunctionality. But it's an ongoing process. It's learning, and as you say, relaxing, because if we resist changing, that what we resist will persist until we break the cycle. And that's hard.
Yeah, how do we break the cycle? Do you have any words of wisdom for us on that?
Well, first of all, nobody else can do it for us.
Yeah.
We must do it for ourselves. We have to go back and examine our feelings, examine where we are, and find that thought, that trigger that started it all.
So ominous.
But they say after that, there's the release.
Yeah.
When we can see it for what it is and for what it was. There's joy on the other side, so they say.
And I'd like to think there's some non-resistance in that process that helps us get there. Rick had something. Would you mind being the mic passer? Thank you, ma'am.
Just call me Mike today.
Actually, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
One of the things about being in a relationship, a long-term relationship, is you do need to keep re-choosing to be in it. You know, that awareness. I have some friends that have terrible relationships. One of their big problems is they keep forgetting that they chose it and to re-choose it, you know? Instead of saying that this could change or that could change.
Yeah. Very good.
Rob, did you?
Yeah, sure. I have a fairly ridiculous little insight.
Like an ice cream, please.
Speaking to the mic.
Do the fairly ridiculous again.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you were talking about waking up and having that background noise. And you talked about a hamster wheel, and it brought back a memory as a child visiting, sleeping over with friends that had, hamsters, and waking up in the morning and hearing that paper, and then hearing the wheel turn, and then faster and faster and faster. And I hadn't thought of that in years. Of course, we've all had the image in our minds of, this wheel, right, hopping on. But it was so clear in your little follow on from the meditation that it gave me a space to take this current of unidentified emotion, it's just sort of a rabble, and put it on the wheel and have a separation visually in my mind. That was fun. That's how just share that.
Awesome.
Don't forget, the hamster's having fun.
He's releasing energy.
It's got a red light.
Spoke earlier
Yeah, just leave it on. Got a red light, just leave it on.
in your prayer when you spoke about the doingness versus the beingness. When we were children, we were rewarded for doing, not for being. Some of us were anyway. And we have to honor the beingness of us.
I'm going to read you a story that you just set up for me. Thank you.
Well, we're in tune. Did you hear say that?
We are in tune. Daryl was talking, for those that cannot hear out there in YouTube land, Daryl is talking about beingness as opposed to doingness and knowing ourselves, and in both places really. We need to recognize when we are doing and when we are being, and when we are doing from a place of being, right? So this is, let's see, this is from Ram Dass's Polishing the Mirror, which is I love the title because we are all mirrors for one another, right? Especially in relationship. He says, this story is from Aikido master Terry Dobson. Ram Dass says this story is one of his favorites because it shows how to bring harmony by embracing conflict with compassion and understanding. And so you'll see the difference in here between doing and being. The train clanked and rattled through the suburbs of Tokyo on a drowsy spring afternoon. Our car was comparatively empty, a few housewives with their kids in tow, some old folks going for shopping. I gazed absently at the drab houses and dusty hedgerows. At one station, the doors opened, and suddenly the afternoon quiet was shattered by a man bellowing violent, incomprehensible curses. The man staggered into our car. He wore laborer's clothing, and he was big, drunk, and dirty. Screaming, he swung at a woman holding a baby. The blow sent her spinning into the laps of an elderly couple. It was a miracle the baby was unharmed. Terrified, the couple jumped up and scrambled toward the end of the car. The laborer aimed a kick at the retreating back of the old woman, but missed as she scuttled to safety. This so enraged the drunk that he grabbed the metal pole at the center of the car and tried to wrench it out of its stanchion. I could see that one of his hands was cut and bleeding. The train lurched ahead, the passengers frozen with fear. I stood up. I was young then, some 20 years ago, and in pretty good shape. I had been putting in a solid 8 hours of Aikido training every day for the past 3 years. I liked to throw and grapple. I thought I was tough. The trouble was my martial skill was untested in actual combat. As students of Aikido, we were not allowed to fight. Aikido, my teacher had said again and again, is the art of reconciliation. Whoever has the mind to fight has broken his connection to the universe. If you try to dominate people, you already are defeated. We study how to resolve conflict, not how to start it. I listened to his words. I tried so hard. I even went so far as to cross the street to avoid the kids, the pinball punks who lounged around the train station. My forbearance exalted me. I was both tough and holy. That little ego stroke he gets from being good, right? In my heart, however, I wanted an absolutely legitimate opportunity whereby I might save the innocent by destroying the guilty. This is it, I said to myself as I stood up. People are in danger. If I don't do something fast, somebody will probably get hurt. Seeing me stand up, the drunk recognized the chance to focus his rage. "Aha!" he roared. "A foreigner! You need a lesson in Japanese manners." I held on lightly to the commuter strap overhead and gave him a slow look of disgust and dismissal. I planned to take this turkey apart, but he had to make the first move. I wanted him mad, so I pursed my lips and blew him an insolent kiss. "All right," he hollered, "you're going to get a lesson." He gathered himself for a rush at me. A fraction of a second before he could move, someone shouted, "Hey!" It was ear-splitting. I remember the strangely joyous, lilting quality of it, though. As though you and a friend had been searching diligently for something and he had suddenly stumbled upon it. "Hey!" I wheeled to my left, the drunk spun to his right. We both stared down at a little old Japanese man. He must have been well into his 70s, this tiny gentleman sitting there, immaculate in his kimono. He took no notice of me, but beamed delightedly at the laborer as though he had a most important, most welcome secret to share. "Come here," the old man said in an easy vernacular, beckoning to the drunk. "Come here and talk with me." He waved his hand lightly. The big man followed as if on a string. He planted his feet belligerently in front of the old gentleman and roared above the clacking wheels of the train. "Why the hell should I talk to you?" The drunk now had his back to me. If his elbow moved so much as a millimeter, I'd drop him in his socks. The old man continued to beam at the laborer. "What you been drinking?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with interest. "I've been drinking sake," the laborer bellowed back, "and it's none of your business." Flecks of spittle spattered the old man. "Oh, that's wonderful," the old man said. "Absolutely wonderful. You see, I love sake too. Every night, me and my wife, she's 76 now, you know, we warm up a bottle of sake and we take it out in the garden. And we sit on our old wooden bench and we watch the sun go down and we look to see how our persimmon tree is doing. My great-grandfather planted that tree, and we worry about whether it will recover from those ice storms we had last winter. Our tree has done better than I expected, though, especially when you consider the poor quality of the soil. It is gratifying to watch when we take our sake and go out to enjoy the evening when it rains." He looked up at the laborer, his eyes twinkling. As he struggled to follow the old man's conversation, the drunk's face began to soften. His fists slowly unclenched. "Yeah," he said, "I love persimmons too." His voice trailed off. "Yes," said the old man, smiling, "and I'm sure you have a wonderful wife." "Nah, my wife died." Very gently, swaying with the motion of the train, the big man began to sob. "I don't got no wife. I don't got no home. I don't got no job. I'm so ashamed of myself." Tears rolled down his cheeks. A spasm of despair rippled through his body. There I was, standing in my well-scrubbed, youthful innocence, my make this world safe for democracy righteousness. I suddenly felt dirtier than he was. The train arrived at my stop. As the door opened, I heard the old man cluck sympathetically. My, he said, "that is a difficult predicament. Sit down here and tell me about it." I turned my head for one last look. The laborer was sprawled on the seat, his head in the old man's lap. The old man was softly stroking the filthy matted hair. As the train pulled away, I sat down on a bench. What I had wanted to do with muscle had been accomplished with kind words. I had just seen Aikido tried in combat, and the essence of it was love. Beautiful story, right? He had just seen all his work that he'd been trained to do, an example of someone else doing that work and never raising a hand, never raising a leg to kick, or no karate chopping. That could have gone a very different way if that old man hadn't been there. And how many opportunities are we faced with daily where we, out of habit, want to put up resistance, want to put up a fight, even sometimes if it's just a fight with ourselves. Oh, you could have done better at that. Oh man, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why doesn't he do it this way? Don't they know there's a better way? Why won't they listen to me? Right? All of these little acts of resistance. When we're practiced, we automatically can go right to the heart and breathe and smile. That smile only our heart knows. And know that all is right in the world. All is exactly as it should be. Because when we're triggered, even in those little small ways throughout the day, those are our opportunities to recognize the highest truth of the person, of ourselves, of the situation. There's so much purpose happening all around us at all times. But that purpose is always taking us back to the divine. That relationship we have, knowing ourselves as one with the drunk, the old man, the very slow cashier who just can't get her act together. We have these beautiful opportunities every day. And so I ask you to come to center with me right now so that we can thank the Almighty for all the opportunities that show up, showing me that I am love, showing me that I am the light, showing me that there is only one power, one presence in this universe. This power, this presence has many names, but all of them refer back to the Christ consciousness that is within our own hearts. And we know it to be good. And so it is.
One power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love. One power, oh, one power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, have different clothing, different colors, different names. But different is only dangerous. We forget that in the heart we're all the same. And we'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of the love. You and me, one power, oh, one power, is what we are. One power, oh, one power. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger you abandon for the love that's most deep. It's one power. It's one power. What we are is one power. It's the power of the love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you and me.
Yes. And so there is one power in the universe, and that power resides in each of us as us. And so knowing this, we come together in community to celebrate one another as family, as friends, as loved ones. So I invite you now to just take that big, deep breath in and releasing, resting in the known truth that we are all at one and it is all good. So I invite you now to gather your gifts that you have brought to share with your community. And as you do so, with intention, hold these gifts, knowing that this is an extension of your power. And let's say our blessing together. Divine love, flowing as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything and every little thing that I need, and I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Oh, God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything, everything I need. God gives me everything, every little thing, every little thing I need. God gives me, God gives.
Yes and yes. And so now we bless the gifts that have been given. We know that they will multiply as they do the work that they are intended to do. We know that as we give, so we receive, and that all is provided for us. Health, wealth, mental clarity, a known love, that all is in unity at the center of our hearts, at the center of our beingness. We recognize our oneness with one another, our oneness with the universe, our oneness with that Christ consciousness that allows us to live, move, and have our being as Unity Truth students, doing the work that needs to be done. And it is good. And so it is. Amen.